Hey y'all, this is Marley K. Hope everybody is doing well. I want to do a very important video. This video is for parents of young black males. If you, and it is just for black people in general. It could be for anybody, but I'm speaking specifically to black people because I'm getting ready to talk about due process, the 14th Amendment. It applies to descendants of chattel slavery. And that's who I'm focused on. So if you happen to come through, or you happen to be here, and you're not a descendant of chattel slavery, if you're white or whatever, please don't be offended. This doesn't have anything to do with race. It has something to do with nationality or ethnicity or race of people, whatever you want to call it, who are in danger and who are at the mercy of a system who has that's never protected them. So I want to discuss a play that's happening so that we can be prepared for what's to come. This is for black men and black boys in particular. And the reason I'm talking about this is because notice that this administration started going after gang members, MS-13, Hispanics, shipping them to El Salvador, Guantanamo Bay. They have deals to send them to Rwanda, to different nations' prisons. And the Supreme Court just ruled that this administration has violated the rights of people in this country who are being deported without due process. And so I found it interesting that over the weekend that Code 45 was interviewed, and he said that he doesn't know if he needs to uphold constitutional due process. So I'm talking about this because most people don't realize that we're already under martial law. It just has not officially been declared. We are under a bunch of national emergency orders that gives the president, and he's declaring them. Congress didn't declare them. He's also declared that we're at war, which is how he got to enact this. I think it's Alien Enemies Act. I can't remember exactly which what's the name of the specific act, but that particular act allows him to round up people that are to be said threats to the country. So what I want y'all to pay attention to is how things are going. Two things are happening. We're at the end of the second Reconstruction era. If you don't know about the first Reconstruction era and how it ended, it began after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, and then it ended terribly for us. It ended with us being burned out, flooded out, run out of political office. We had our property taken from us. A lot of people were hung, killed, and we never really recovered from that. And every time after we've tried to establish our own settlements or whatever, we were always terrorized. And so with the 14th Amendment came legal rulings or legal standards that allowed us to have due process. Because before, when I say we, descendants of chattel slavery, or at the time Negroes that were slaves, were not considered human beings. They were not considered people. Therefore, they were not entitled to any rights. They had the rights of animals and wives of white men, which they didn't have rights. So once we began to get rights, those rights came with the 14th Amendment. So when you talk about constitutional due process, we have to pay attention to this, because this is tied to our freedom and our rights, and how it's going to impact these young Negroes. I know y'all call them young YNs. This is a message for YNs, their daddies and their mamas. Y'all are in danger. And they're coming for y'all. They're coming for you last, but they're coming for you. And they're setting the stage by doing this. And I say they because I do not believe that Colt 45 has the cognitive ability to think of all this stuff himself. He might. Yeah, I don't think so. I really think this is orchestrated by those people who created the Project 2025 agenda. And they are hidden hands. They are attorneys and political strategists and eugenicists, whatever you want to call them. But they are orchestrating a way to get rid of us. All things lead to getting rid of us, exterminating, subjugating, dominating, eliminating us from their system because they are ready to do what they did after slavery, was flood the country with a bunch of European immigrants. And Europe is getting ready to be destroyed. They know Europe is getting ready to be destroyed. Europe doesn't have a military. Europe is losing all their geopolitical power around the globe. They're getting kicked out. You see, Africa is kicking them out left and right. Nobody wants Europeans anywhere in their country. When it comes to controlling resources, and that's the whole reason that they mostly were there, because they don't like us. They just like what we got. They like our labor. They like the resources. There's nothing in Europe. Nothing. It's cold. It's damp. Nobody wants to be there. They have natural resources like water and mountains, and they probably have some things, but what they do is they like to keep their resources and exploit resources from other nations. And those nations happen to be less powerful, less dominant nations, because the rest of the world can talk to each other and trade. They don't really be having that kind of beef. It's just that Esau Edom, group they're barbaric. They rule by the sword. The Bible talks about them. So now that they are being put on notice that they're not wanted any place, they're realizing that they can't survive without the exploitation, subjugation, and domination of other nations, which includes really the continent of Africa and South America. So America is getting ready to transition. They're getting ready to do what they did after Nazi Germany, and they let all the Germans come over here. They had the Irish over here, the white Irish, Greeks, Khazars, everybody. Anybody can come, long as you ain't white. Oh, I'm sorry, long as you ain't black. They're getting ready to try to replenish this place. But they need to make room for the Europeans that need to come here, because this place is getting ready to go through an ethnic cleansing itself. And it is starting with the light browns. The ultimate goal is to reach the dark browns, which are us. So if you're not understanding what is happening, let me tell you, I know a lot of y'all not into politics, y'all not into civics, y'all not into the Constitution, but you better get into it, because they're getting ready to start scooping folks up off the streets. These young black boys who are out here, committing crimes, walking around not doing nothing, not looking like nothing, not contributing anything to society, who has the potential to get himself together and take opportunities away from white boys, they're going to scoop y'all up. So Chicago, in my opinion, is going to be ground zero for what's getting ready to come. And I want to just let y'all know that due process might be going away. It really is already gone away. You see how they did the little young man they sent to El Salvador. They still don't want to bring him back. Ain't but one person, but they don't want to bring him back. So if you get your behind on the airplane because they scoop you up and send you out of this country, your mama and daddy ain't going to be able to save you. You do not have enough money to fight with the federal government, let me tell you. And as you can see, there ain't nobody trying to help us. Nobody. White people ain't even trying to help themselves. They've already allowed this country to be overtaken by tech kings, oligarchs, whatever you want to call them. So we have a technocracy now. And as you can see, we ain't a part of it. Which is cool. We're not supposed to be a part of it. We're excluded for a reason. They know why, and now we know why. But there, with the exclusion, there's also always a clause for extermination. And we're getting ready to go there. So let me read to you the story that came from The Guardian over the weekend. And it says Trump says he doesn't know if he needs to uphold constitutional due process. What do you mean you don't know? When you done got due process. But anyway, President also says he sees himself as leaving office at the end of his current term and not seeking a third one. I don't know. Shoot. I don't even worry about the third term. Shoot. We got to get through the first one. The second one. This one. So this article says Donald Trump said, I don't know, when asked if he needed to uphold the U.S. Constitution when it comes to giving immigrants the right of due process, as he gave a wide-ranging TV interview broadcast on Sunday, which was yesterday. Today is May the 5th. At the same time, the U.S. president also said he saw himself as leaving office at the end of his current term and not seeking a third one, something that he has not previously always been consistent on, even though a third term is widely seen as unconstitutional. Either it's in the Constitution or it's not. Like, this is a perfect example why we Yasharel, the Yehudi, true Yehudi, we gotta get out of here. You can't stay here because Edom Esau always changes the rules. Edom Esau always changes the rules. They move the goalposts and they play fool when they need to play fool. And not only that, the peasants or the citizens or the people of the kingdom, they don't do nothing. They fight everybody except for themselves. They stick together to do all kinds of mischief and mayhem against other nations. But when it's them under attack, they are like, oh, I don't know what's happening. Oh, this is what it's like. By the time they figure it out, we'll all be enslaved. So you have to, understand, this is the other reason that the Most High wants us to separate from all other nations and get back to his ways and let him appoint us a king. We don't need to be looking for nobody to save you. Right now is a time where you need to be getting knowledge, understanding, working to make sure you are aware of what's going on, keeping watch, and trying to warn your brothers and sisters. That's all we can do. They're not going to allow us to assemble to do anything because our assembling is a threat. What we can do in unison loudly is cry out to the Most High. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't believe, I don't want to, that ain't going to work. Okay, well, don't do it. You don't have to. You could wish you would. You're going to cry for them now. You'll cry for them later, but you're going to cry for them. So it says, but when it comes to giving immigrants full rights in U.S. law in the face of Trump's long-promised campaign of mass deportations, Trump was less clear on the need for due process and following U.S. law and court decisions. Now, this is where the problem comes in, because the 14th Amendment was about free slaves. It wasn't about immigrants. The Democratic Party has taken this whole, we're going to apply this constitutional amendment to immigrants. It's not meant for immigrants. It's meant for us. So the argument is right now, immigrants are not, or immigrants, legal or illegal, are not covered under the due process, because the due process for the 14th Amendment doesn't apply to immigrants. It only applied to descendants of chattel slavery, people who the Civil Rights Act of 1865 was created, which people just kind of forget. They talk about the modern Civil Rights Act, but they don't go back to the original civil rights legislation that was specifically for descendants of chattel slavery. So people are benefiting from laws, or a law and rights that were never meant for them. There is, it says persons, but when you go back and see who the Civil Rights Act of 1865 was created for in the 14th Amendment, it don't have nothing to do with any other group except for descendants of chattel slavery. So to me, it's clear, but because the waters have been muddied by politicians and the Khazarians, of course, and this global network of people who are adamant about immigration because it allows for the erasure of culture, or the meshing of cultures, and then it allows them to do whatever they want to do. Plus, the immigrants that are allowed are mostly Catholic and not Christian. So that's another agenda for another story. I think I did a video about why certain immigrants are flooded. Certain types of immigrants are flooding certain nations, in particular Christian nations. So this is, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know, Trump replied when asked by Meet the Press moderator, Kristen Welker, whether he agreed with his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who had previously expressed support for the idea that everyone had the right to due process. When pressed, Trump continued, I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said. Just what the Supreme Court said, not the law, before you get to the Supreme Court. But it said, what you said is not what I heard the Supreme Court said. They have a different interpretation, the U.S. president added. So Trump also gave his clearest indication to date that he plans to leave office. I don't know what I care about when he leave office. I care about due process. So anyway, the president comments downplaying the idea of a third term. Come as the Trump organization began selling Trump 2028 branded red hats. The $50 hats are listed with the description, "The future looks bright. Rewrite the rules with the Trump 2028 high crown hat." In January, Andy Ogles, a Republican congressman from Tennessee, introduced a resolution in January seeking to amend the Constitution to allow the president to be elected for up to 3 terms. That was followed by calls to reaffirm the 22nd Amendment's prohibition on a third term. Trump refused to be drawn on whom he might support as his successor, a position typical to presidents without the option to run again, who do not want to be seen as lame ducks as party succession issues begin to bubble up. Trump praised both Vice President J.D. Vance and Rubio, 2 names that are consistently mentioned, and was asked if he saw Vance as his successor. It could very well be. I don't want to get involved in that. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a fantastic, brilliant guy. Marco is great. There's a lot of them that are great. I also see tremendous unity. But certainly, you would say that somebody's the VP, if that person is outstanding, I guess that person would have an advantage. So anyway, I don't even care nothing about that. Let me get to this part right here. So let's get on to the 14th Amendment. So hopefully y'all can see my screen. So the 14th Amendment due process clause. So I want to read this to y'all. This comes from the constitutioncenter.org. This doesn't have a date, but anyway, let me read to y'all what this says. So it says the due process clause of the 14th Amendment is the source of an array of constitutional rights, including many of our most cherished and most controversial. Consider the following rights the clause guarantees against the states. Procedural protections, such as notice and a hearing before termination of entitlements, such as publicly funded medical insurance. Individual rights listed in the Bill of Rights, including the freedom of speech, free exercise of religion, the right to bear arms, and a variety of criminal procedure protections. Fundamental rights that are not specifically enumerated elsewhere in the Constitution, including the right to marry, the right to use contraception, and the right to abortion. The Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment echoes that of the 5th Amendment. The 5th Amendment, however, applies only against the federal government. Now listen to this part closely. After the Civil War, Congress adopted a number of measures to protect individual rights from interference by the states. So what they leave out is after the Civil War, Negroes, freed slaves, freedmen, descendants of chattel slavery, did not have any rights because they were not considered citizens. So this is where, when you start dealing with these Edomites, these Esau and them, they are very casual with the language. The fact that they mention Civil War but not mention descendants of slaves or slaves, free slaves, it is very telling. But I had to add that in there for context so y'all can understand who this was really for. It wasn't for everybody. It was just for our ancestors, our descendants who were freed. Among them was the 14th Amendment, which prohibits the states from depriving any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. So it says any person. Now, they use the word person because we were not citizens. This is where things get tricky because we, African Americans, young ninja son, your old ninja son, your troublemaking children could be considered a person and deported, because if this is their interpretation, then you're not a citizen, you're just a person. See where I'm going? Even though you were born here, they could do like they're doing other nations and saying, if your parents are not U.S. citizens, then we don't have to grant you citizenship or rights of citizens, and we want all of y'all gone. This is where things are going. So it says, when it was adopted, the clause was understood to mean that the government could deprive a person of rights only according to law applied by a court. Yet since then, the Supreme Court has elaborated significantly on this core understanding. As the examples above suggest, the rights protected under the 14th Amendment can be understood in three categories, which is 1, procedural due process, 2, the individual rights listed in the Bill of Rights, incorporated against the states, and 3, substantive due process. So procedural due process. So anyway, it gives you a list of or an examples of the different types of due process: procedural, substantive, and Oh, I forget what the other one was. So I guess it's procedural and substantive. But what I want y'all to pay attention to is how they go between, um, and the last one was incorporation of Bill of Rights against the states. The word person is extremely problematic because it is going to come back to us. It's going to come back to, well, y'all were descendants of slaves. Prove you were a citizen. Well, you're Negro. Negroes were never citizens. So eventually, they're going to run us out of here by hook or by crook. I don't know what their plans are going to be for the women and the children. If history is any indicator, it's not going to be good. But they're always going to start with the men and the boys. So all these teenage boys who are running around here committing crimes, not working, not being productive. If your parents are receiving public assistance for you, it's getting ready to get rough for y'all. And without due process, it means if you got tattoos, you have to go back and look at some of the things that they've been saying about some of these other people that they've deported. They had gang tattoos. They were part of a gang. They're going to use this all across the country in black communities. They have already signed an executive order, which I shared with y'all last week, about strengthening and unleashing law enforcement in communities to help with whatever. That's a part of martial law. Like, we're already under national emergency orders, which is why all these things are being issued, which is why we're having this conversation about due process. In order for this last great reset to happen, they have to pull out all the stops. And the people that are going to be the most problematic are Negroes, because they ain't going to go for this. Or, they might chill. Like, everybody's chilling now, but as soon as things get hype, it's a different time. People are just tired, and they know they're not going to be able to pull all this off without Edomites, the right Edomites in place, and without the right laws in place. If you're talking about not giving people due process who are in this country, who are born in this country, and they are going to be persecuted, although the same person who says they don't know is a person who has benefited from due process ever since they've been doing business, whether it's from bankruptcy court or for his criminal proceedings or whatever, civil proceedings. But now you want to exclude, you don't know what due process is, you don't know if you need to honor that. Like, come on. You can't trust that person. It goes back to what everybody else in the world is saying about America. America breaks its treaties. America doesn't keep its promises. America does not keep it, obey its laws. They set up institutions and structures and laws, and then when they don't want to adhere to them, then they don't. So we have to be careful right now. This is not a time for you to be playing around in the street. This is not a time for you to be out here criming. For y'all young niggas who out here doing all mannerism or whatever, and your parents better get you. Because when these people get their hands on you, you're going to find yourself in El Salvador where people don't like you. And you don't know nobody. And you don't know how to speak the language. You're going to find yourself in Rwanda. You're going to find yourself in Guantanamo Bay. You're going to find yourself in some country's prison outside of America because they want to get rid of you. Then they're going to want your parents to be trying to get your back so they can go ahead and persecute and punish your parents and get them out of here too, by hook or by crook. So what we are witnessing is the end of the second Reconstruction era. As I have been saying since 2016, 2017, it's getting ready to be ugly. They are setting the stage. They are setting the stage using other people as an example. But like I've been telling you, with everything else, everybody else are the test cases. All these other nations are the test cases. The real deal is coming when they start messing with us. So you got to pay attention to Baltimore. You got to pay attention to Chicago. Pay attention to Atlanta. Pay attention to some of these other states that have huge issues. Memphis, New Orleans, wherever. Just pick a nation. You're going to see people start leaving here, and you could start seeing all these cases pop up over the internet where Pookie and Ray Ray been picked up, Man and Tay Tay been picked up and deported to El Salvador because they've been criming over here and not paying attention to what's going on, and the parents been just half-ass raising them. And you're gonna see the mama on TV with her bad wig, her hair hat, crying about, oh, they was about to change their life, oh, they was getting their life together. Nobody want to hear that no more. They're gonna look at their criminal record. They're gonna say, oh, this person don't go to school, they don't have no high school diploma, they're not going to college, they don't work, they never had no job. They in the gang, they got tattoos, they done been busted for drugs. Oh, we don't want them. This is an unproductive citizen. Get out of here. That's what's coming. So for all you parents who have children who out here in the streets running around, you better talk to them and tell them. For all of y'all who do not have passports or other documentation to prove that you are a citizen, that you were born here, I suggest you better get that and keep it on you at all times. This is no time to be playing around in the street. This is no time to be out here committing crimes. This is not a time to be having contact with law enforcement. This is not a time to think you got rights and what's the law. This administration ain't following no laws. They do what they want to do. And even when the Supreme Court speaks, they're still not honoring the law. They're still pausing money with the federal government. They're still closing down these federal agencies. They're doing what they want to do. They have implemented their plans. They're not keeping up with the law anymore. This law, the old laws are done away with. We're under martial law. We're under national emergency orders. This is something totally new, and most people don't realize it. Black people are very ignorant about what's happening. And by the time they figure out, the man had already told you he's going to black people have been asking for more law enforcement, and they're going to put more law enforcement in their communities because of crime. Well, just think during the pandemic how they took all the laws off the books, or they just decided they were not going to criminalize certain stuff, and then people started doing all kinds of stuff. Guess who was on TV doing all the stuff? Black people. Now, whether it was orchestrated or not, I don't know. But what I can tell you is the face of all the crime was black people, black men, black boys. So who do you think they're going to come after? Black men, black boys. Guess what time is coming? Summertime, where what? People be outside. Everybody outside, having a good time. Outside. Where you at? Outside. Black people are in so much danger and so ignorant to it. It is pathetic. But never let it be said that you have not been warned. I'm telling you, this is not a time to be playing around in the street. This is not a time to be riding around dirty. This ain't even time to be riding around clean. If you can stay home, you need to be at your house. If you in trouble and you're a troubled person and you bring trouble to the family, you probably need to go someplace else to not, bring heat on your family. This is the time to be getting your life together. If you are a, young man or a young woman who hanging around in the streets, doing everything, having a good time, thinking that's the life, it's only going to be good for a little while. They are literally hiring more law enforcement. They are embedding the military in with the law enforcement. it is getting ready to be ugly for our people, and our people are not ready. So, with that said, share this video. Let people know. I'm going to put a link to the story and a link to the interpretation of the 14th Amendment, and then I'm going to actually put the 14th Amendment in the description as well. I'll also put it in the comment section, because y'all need to understand that word person, it doesn't say citizen. If you read all the other amendments, they talk about citizens. The reason they talk about person is because they never considered African Americans or black people, Negroes, descendants of chattel slavery, citizens. We were just persons, and we had to be added as people to be seen as human, but they never really gave us citizenship. So you don't have any protections. You can run around here and say, oh, I got rights. That's against the law. It's my right to pull out the phone and record. Y'all better quit saying that, because you don't have no rights. Look at how they're treating the illegals, because they are persons. Look at how they treat the immigrants. They are persons. They're not citizens. They're going to treat Negroes the same way. You're not going to be considered a person. You're going to be considered you're not going to be considered a citizen. You're going to be considered a person. If you're not white, you can't be considered a citizen. You're just a person. So get that in y'all spirit. Understand what they're telling you. The powers are speaking without speaking. And I'm thankful to the Most High that He gives me, the ability to interpret this stuff so that I can share it with y'all. I don't be trying to be right. I just be trying to warn my people. And I want y'all to understand that they're coming for us. They ain't got to us yet, but they're coming. Chicago is likely going to be the first sacrificial city. I call these major cities sacrificial cities. New York, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Chicago, LA, Oakland, Compton, Houston, San Antonio. I can't think of Minnesota. I can't think of the city where they have a huge immigrant population, black and African immigrant population. St. Louis, like I said, Atlanta, Miami, Jacksonville, down in the Orlando area, New Orleans, any place in the South, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. Like, y'all better get ready. That's all I can tell you. We have to be knowledgeable and understand what's happening. Now is not the time to be trying to have no contact with police or do anything that will put you in a position to be deported. Last thing I want to share with y'all. Y'all saw that story where the little young 18-year-old guy was killed. I can't remember. I think it's in Ohio. Then the next day his daddy went and did something to the police officer. Staging. They're preparing. Oh, black niggas is violent now. We need to get more stuff out here. We need to get them. That's coming. Young niggas did something. Then the young nigga daddy took action and did an eye for an eye, allegedly. Setting the stage for deportation. Setting the stage for, yet again, criminalizing being black. And setting the stage for us to not be treated as citizens or persons. So pay attention to what's happening, because a lot of stuff is going unchecked. A lot of people are not talking about this in this type of way, about how things are going to impact us constitutionally in this due process. The moment that he said that, I'm like, oh God, so that means nobody has due process for nothing. And when it's, we talk about due process in the 14th Amendment, it's tied to the Civil War, it's tied to African Americans, it's tied to Negroes, nobody else. Although it says person, we know who they were talking about. We know the reason that the 14th Amendment was even created. So make no mistake about it, they try to avoid and skirt and skip and give everybody that blanket of protection except for the people who the amendment was actually created for. So make sure you are understanding that we're in a different time. America as it was is done. There's no covering, there are no protections for you. This nation does not honor its own rules. It's not honoring the Constitution. It's been hijacked. And whatever safety and protections and security you thought you had, you better get that shit out your head right now. You do not have those. We living on a wing and a prayer. And this is a very dangerous time for African American males. It's a very dangerous time for their fathers, our brothers, our uncles, our daddies, our significant others, husbands. It's a dangerous time. And we need to learn how to recognize that and then tell others, because I see people walking around all the time, every day, and it's disturbing to me. I can go and tell them and they'll look at me like a deer in the headlights, like, what's this lady talking about? Because it don't happen to them right now, it don't happen to them today. Something doesn't happen to them immediately, then they just think life is good. Life ain't sweet. It ain't sweet here no more. It ain't sweet here no more. So, share this video out. Let people understand what's coming. They're doing 84 Rex. Flip it around. Backwards. The rule was to pick up Hispanics and African Americans within a certain period of time. They're doing it backwards. A lot of stuff that's happening is happening in the opposite direction. We're supposed to be picked up first. The other people are supposed to be picked up last. They're doing it the other way. That most people don't even know about 84 Rex, and so they're just not even aware of what's going on. But the moment these people snap and they declare whatever they declare, it's done. It's done. You're gonna see brothers picked up everywhere. I don't know how it's gonna work out, because a lot of our people in this country who were in the military, who were in the military may not follow these orders, or who are in the military may not follow the orders. I don't know. We don't know. This is a very dangerous time, and it's not happened since probably the Civil War. So again, share, let people know what's coming. It's gonna be bad, so y'all need to stay out of the street. I know it's getting warm and y'all want to be outside, but this is not the time to be outside. This is not the time to be criming. This is not the time to be seen. This is time to be invisible. And if you are one of these black people who are here like, oh yeah, we need more law enforcement in the community, shame on you. Be quiet. You don't know what you're talking about. We need to police ourselves. All right. Please like this video, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification so that you'll be notified each and every time I upload new content. Follow me on Odyssey, Rumble, on Instagram, and on Facebook. The links are in the description. Please continue to support my GoFundMe campaign. The link for that is in the description and in the comment section. Lastly, continue to prep and pray. It's going to be rough out here. It's going to be a rough, hot, bloody summer. I could tell you that for sure. All right, this is Marley K. Love y'all, and I'm out.